Being live. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much again for coming back to the last day of Lockdown Dog. I've really enjoyed working with you these last 5 days. I've had such positive feedback as well. So thank you so much for those who've pressed the like button and shared. It really helps. And it makes me encouraged to want to do more series as well. I think in the next series is going to be a lot more detailed. A lot more visual. I'm actually a visual learner, 3 types of learner: visual, kinesthetic. Kinesthetic is doing, audio is hearing, and seeing and doing are ways I really learn well. Whereas hearing, like if I was listening to something like this, I wouldn't learn that well. So that's why I do spend a lot of time making videos and obviously working with clients one-to-one. But the next series I'm planning on having videos showing you what to do as it goes. So please hit the bell button to be notified to when my next videos come out. So before we start, have you seen the news today? Crazy. So, as you know, dogs are eaten as meat in China, and often they're killed in a very inhumane way, which is terrible. In fact, more than 10 million dogs are killed and eaten each year. However, today the news is reporting that China is signaling the end to eating dogs as meat. There are plans to reclassify dogs as pets rather than livestock in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, which means it will be illegal to eat them. Can you imagine that? That's 10 million dogs that are going to be looked after. You think about all the welfare that Battersea does, and all the great rescue centres that do amazing work in England. I mean, this news just eclipses it. It's fantastic news for dogs. So I'm really pleased by that. I'd love to get to China to do work there, because I'm sure they're, as they start all getting dogs as pets, because a lot of them do have dogs as pets, and a lot of them love their dogs as well. They'll need trainer out there. So hopefully I'll be one of the first people to do that. It's one of my plans, actually. So 3 topics we're going to talk about today, not 4, I'm going to do 3, because I actually want to answer all your questions today, if possible. So I'm just going to do 3 topics, and they're not going to be huge topics either. I'm just going to make sure I keep it short, answer your questions, because it's the last day, so I want to be able to certainly do that, answer your questions. So 3 topics today. Excuse me, sorry, I've not drank enough water. First topic today is about exaggerating language. So exaggerating language, making it clearer to the dog who's doing what. The second topic is, what is canidmorphising? If anybody knows, type that in the description box. It's a comment. Well, it's a word I made up, actually. I put 2 words together and come out with a new word. Hopefully it'll catch on one day. And the third thing we're going to talk about is a dog really memorable to I worked with years ago when I first started out, a dog called Danny. And this dog was so tough, and he really taught me loads, as the tough dogs often teach you loads. So if you guys have got dogs at home and you're really struggling with them, it is a bit of a nightmare having a badly behaved dog, but there is a silver lining to the dog that you've got. If it's being difficult, is that dog will teach you so much about dog behavior, so much about yourself. And he is a blessing, or she is a blessing in disguise if you're looking for answers, because as mentioned, you'll find out so much. So first thing, exaggerating language. So when I'm working with dogs, when I learned to work with dogs, I learned it from quite a few different sources. My main source was a lady, and she taught me a way of doing it. But when I was working with dogs, when I was at people's homes, working with them whilst they went on holiday, I had a limited amount of time to do things. So I was always thinking, how can I do this a little bit quicker in order to get the dog well behaved before the lady or the man gets back, or the couple gets back. And I thought about every attribute of how we could do things quicker. And what I started doing is, 1, break things down into really small stages so I could see progress, which we've talked about much this week. The other is knowing to be more assertive and more gentle, like really altering my body language of how I was doing things. And the other one is communicating a lot clearer. So if everything that when we communicate with one another, how can we make that a clearer message to each other? Or how could I make that a clearer message to the dog? Well, because we're talking in body language primarily with the dog, I started making my body language a lot clearer, as clear as possible, in fact. So, for example, if I was walking out the door and the dog was even a minor little bit scared of walking out the door, because if they're scared on the walk later on, I just assume they might be a minor bit scared, a tiny bit scared when I walked out the door. So when I walk out the door, I'd make myself big, I'd exaggerate turning around the corners, and I'd show my dog straight away from the second we walked out the door, I'm in front of you and I've got this covered. Or when I went to take care of dangers at the front door, I'd put my hands on the front door, really claim it like it was mine. The dog would try and get in between. I'd move them back quite firmly. Boom, put my hands on the door again to say, this is mine. Food's mine. Danger's mine. My own personal space is mine. I was making everything so clear that it was very obvious the dog could see what I was doing. Some clients, I'm asking them to cuddle me when I walk through the door to show the dog that this guy is okay. And if they're cuddling, that's clearer than standing back and waiting a meter. Also standing back and looking at me from a meter, because the dog then might try and get in between that client into that meter gap. The client's standing back for a meter, being courteous and giving me personal space, but the dog doesn't care about personal space in those sort of moments. The dog's trying to say, no, you've walked back a meter, I'll go and fill that gap. I had one client on that note who I knocked on the door. She opened the door and she's like, come in, Nigel. And as she walked past her dog, and she was making a cup of tea. And the dog was just stood there looking at me going, who's this guy? And I said, can you come back? And she said, no, come in, I'm just making the tea. And I said, no, could you come back, please? I just need you to walk me through. And I asked her to come back to me and take my hand and walk me past her dog. Just because I didn't want the dog thinking, who is this guy? What's just happened? As far as the dog's concerned, the woman just went, and then ran off. So it wasn't very clear to the dog what to do. But if she came up to me, I'm not asking for a cuddle if I come around your house, by the way. But if you did give me a cuddle, it'd make it a lot clearer. And it's just really clear, like, I know who this person is. I'm very happy with it. The dog, you're not needed. I've got this person. So making your body language clearer. And it's even true with human terms. So if you are a little bit apprehensive in social situations, or you do have low self-esteem, it is good. You shrink into yourself more. You lower height. You kind of don't want to be noticed. So it is good just to kind of puff your body out, like really stand tall, stand strong, because it sends messages to people and it sends messages to dogs. It's about body language, posture. I've got this situation covered. Whereas if I've got a client saying, and I see it, they go to get the door, and the body language just isn't that clear. They're looking back at the dog. They look nervous while they're doing it because they're not 100% sure of what they're doing. I talk about this analogy in my book, that if you're a heart surgeon and you're fixing a heart and you look at the nurses every 5 seconds, it demonstrates uncertainty. Whereas if you're a heart surgeon, you're like, scalpel, you look like you know what you're doing. So the look carries so much meaning. So when you're exaggerating your body language, you barely have to look at your dog when you're doing things. I mean, when I'm taking my dog for a walk and moving him back, or if I'm taking care of danger, I barely look at him. I'm like, I've got this covered, and I'm in front. I'm dealing with things. There's a dog over there that gets in his space. I'm in front. I'll deal with that dog. Interestingly, on that note, I remember my dog Rex. I hope I haven't told you this story this week, but my dog Rex was getting hassled by another dog, and his puppy was jumping all over him. And Rex was using avoidance behavior of walking away, saying, I don't like that. And the puppy wasn't getting the message, so carried on jumping on him. And then Rex upped the ante a little bit and got a bit more assertive. And then did like that, just did a little kind of bite, not to draw blood, not to even put pressure on, but just for teeth to touch fur to say back off. And that wasn't assertive enough for the puppy. So the puppy carried on jumping on Rex. So I got the puppy by the collar, walked her 3 meters or whatever, just gave her a push and went back to Rex. And that was assertive enough. Then the dog went, okay, I get that. And I have to do that quite a lot when dogs invade my dog's space and they bully too much, because so many people think that's what dogs do. They're just saying hello, and they use that word just justifies so much bad behavior. And dogs should be well mannered with each other. My dog's certainly well mannered with other dogs. So many dogs are well mannered with my dog, but you get the occasional few, and we normalize it. We just say, They're just saying hello. They're just excitable. They're just pleased to see. Well, whatever. They're still being bad mannered. So you can. They're not. It's not just. It's a few things. So in those moments, and when it's an owner that doesn't understand, and I haven't got the opportunity to explain it to them, I'm trying to give a message to my dog Rex to say I protect him. I'm trying to give a message to the owner that I'm a nice person, and I'm trying to give a message to the dog to back off. So in that moment, I go, hello. And as I say hello, I give the dog a bit of a push. So my body language goes towards the dog and gives it a little bit of push away from Rex. Rex sees I've just cleared some distance, and the owner looks at me and goes, oh, you must love dogs. Whereas the truth is, yeah, of course I do. But I don't want your dog in my dog space. So exaggerating body language, really showing who's doing what. Let's make it really clear. Like when you go out today, tomorrow, and you're taking the dog for a walk, make it clear I'm leading you. Make it clear I'm taking it care of danger. Make it clear I'll let you know when things happen. Make it clear, no, I don't want you near when I'm eating food. So that's the first point. Second point is, what is canidmorphising? Did anyone get this? Let's scroll down. My chat isn't live actually, so I can't even see. I don't think so. Maybe they have. I'm not sure. I can't see. It says unable to connect to chat. Oh no. Oh dear. That's annoying. That's not live. I've not got live chat. That's so annoying. I'll try and answer your questions after today, then perhaps, and write you something. Or actually, can I do another version of this? Sorry about this. Technical difficulties. Live. Very embarrassing. So, what is canidmorphising? Canidmorphising is placing personalities onto other canines. So, anthropomorphizing is placing human personalities onto whatever the situation is. So anthro meaning human, canine obviously meaning canine, and then the anthropomorphizing is then morphing the language onto the whatever you're doing it on. So canidmorphizing has got a lot of bad rap by some people, and they're saying that you can't make any comparisons between any other canines and dogs. They're too far removed. And I've heard all these things, and I'm going to make a proper video on this at one point. But I thought I'd do this video at the end of the week, just in case anybody questions you and what you're doing. And I hear kind of comments and responses like, you wouldn't look at monkey parenting to understand human parenting. So why would you look at wolf or dingo parenting to get an idea of dog parenting? Well, one, humans and monkeys are like 98.5% genetically identical, whereas dogs and wolves are 99.96%. So there's going to be more comparisons because they're not as far related as humans and monkeys. Another one, dogs and humans. Well, dogs evolved from a common ancestor of the wolf, not the grey wolf that we see today, but another ancestor. And humans didn't evolve from monkeys; they evolved from a close ancestor. Another ancestor of the monkey. So actually, Neanderthals and humans are 99.5% genetically identical to one another. So if they were accurate and they replaced that statement with, well, you wouldn't look at Neanderthal parenting to look at human parenting, it falls down on itself already, because yes, you would actually. There would be huge comparisons. Of course, you can't make comparisons with all dogs and wolves. There's loads of differences, but there are similarities. And there's differences between humans and Neanderthals, but there are similarities. So it's knowing when you can canidmorphize and when you can't. You can't always canidmorphize because there are differences, but there's times you can. And when people say you can't, you wouldn't look at monkey parenting to understand human parenting, they instantly cut any ties you can make. And because of that, they miss so much. And again, that's when you get real positive reinforcement training, which is always treating the symptoms rather than the disease. And again, I'm up for positive reinforcement training. I love reinforcing my dog positively, but I also want to treat the symptoms and the disease of the problem rather than just the problem. And a lot of the time, the problem is the dog's not convinced you're providing for them. So if you don't believe in leader theory, you don't believe it's your job to show your dog that you'll take care of them, or show your dog that you'll lead them, and you think it's okay just to put a dog on a halty just so they actually can't pull because then the job's done apparently, or just desense a dog to every single problem because then the job's done apparently, then you'll miss so much. So canidmorphizing is placing canine personalities onto dogs. So how disappointing I haven't got live chat. This is so annoying. I've just tried to put it onto another link. I cannot believe this. Okay, so I'll carry on. And I just want to tell you a story about a dog called Danny. Danny was a really tough dog I worked with, one of the first dogs I worked with. And I got through in the deep end with a lot of dogs I worked with, actually, some really tough cases. And this dog called Danny would not stop jumping on me, would not stop humping his bed, would not stop picking up my shoes, would not stop jumping on owners. And it was absolutely relentless. And when I walked through the door, he'd jump on me, and I'd do the 3-strike rule. I'd push away, I'd move away, I'd isolate. And it just wasn't working. Like day 2, day 3, this dog was coming back, jumping on me. And I started moving away further, isolating for longer. And whatever I was doing, it wasn't working. I was putting him in there for 2 minutes. And at the time, I was really conscious of his feelings and was he being hurt? And, I'd be looking at the clock going, that's 2 minutes. And I'd run up and I'd quickly let him out. 5 minutes later, he'd go and pick something up. I'd be like, right, that's it. I'd put him back into timeout. After 2 minutes and 10 seconds, I let him out and just do something again. And this just kept going on and on and on. And eventually I ended up having to put him in for 3 minutes at a time, 4 minutes at a time, 5 minutes at a time, because he just wasn't listening. And I was putting him in there to calm myself down because I was getting so stressed with this dog that was just being relentless with me all day. And eventually I got to 15 minutes and he came out and I was like, right, bang, 20 minutes. He came out, he jumped on me. I was like, right, 25, I'm so angry. And then when I let him out after 25 minutes, he jumped on my back, put his teeth on my neck, and I was absolutely furious. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I was so wound up. And I took him by the collar and I put him in timeout. And I was like, right, that's half an hour. And when I came out, his head was just down. And he gave me an expression to say, all right, I give up. And after that day, he changed. He was just so much better with me. He stopped trying to challenge me. He stopped trying to take care of danger. He stopped trying to pull on the lead as much. He was thinking, okay, you've proved yourself here. So again, I talked about tenacity a lot of the times throughout this week, and tenacity where you're trying to get to the point where the dog intrinsically knows not to invade your space, intrinsically knows that you take care of danger, intrinsically knows that you lead the walk, and intrinsically knows that you're going to provide food for them. So, and you've got power of it. So if they're asking questions in any of those areas, you've got to make your language clearer, you've got to get more tenacious, and you've got to show the dog exactly what they should be doing. So, right, I'm going to answer the questions that I've got, but at the end of these questions, it says unable to connect to chat. So I'm not too sure what's going on. Is there any way I can see these comments? So sorry about this. QWERTY says, I missed your last 4 sessions and I'm gutted. I have your book and I've watched all your videos, so incredibly disappointed I didn't find out about your sessions earlier. They're all online, QWERTY, so you can go back and have a look at them. But I'm here for the final session today. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much for doing these streams. Pleasure. With the current, after the frustrations, dealing with, and you say, and the frustrations of dealing with being enclosed for a long daily basis with owners at work. So QWERTY's saying we can understand dogs a little bit more from being enclosed with lockdown. Yes, very good point. I'm unfortunately a little bit more lucky. I don't live in London anymore. I live in the country, so the places I can go. But the people that living in block flats, they'll really realise, God, actually, do you know what? It can get a bit boring. Maybe I will take my dog out a little bit more. Ross says, how can I stop my 12-month-old lab play biting when excited? Have tried ignoring, turning away, and he's too big to pick up and put in timeout. There's 2 things you can do, Ross. One, have him on a lead. I'm sure you're physically strong enough to, when he's on lead, to pull him out. And even if when you pull him, even if you move him 1 meter or 2 meters, let's say he's so strong, all you can do is 2 meters, it's still more of a consequence than just ignoring or pushing away. So even just putting the effort in. But I have a dog on lead. If a dog was doing that with me, I'd put them on lead and I would physically pull them out into another room on the lead and say, right, you're out. You don't do that. You do not do that. The other one is you can go out the room yourself and leave the dog in there on its own. The dog, so if the whole family, let's say, just go out the room and leave the dog in there, everyone just gets up, walks out, leaves the dog there, the dog just stays in there. That'll work as well. But if you can take the dog and move the dog physically, that is quicker, because it's more assertive. It's less passive. Passive is walking out, which is fine. And I'm all up for passive styles, but I'm all up for upping the ante when I need to as well. Naomi says, I have a Jack Russell. We live in the countryside and she's outside 90% of the time. She normally stays inside the gate even when people pass. However, when one of us are outside and dogs and people pass the gate, I'm assuming, she will chase after them and we can't catch her. Yep, I've worked with that many times. Yesterday she chased children and I'm scared she'll bite. We can't fully secure our garden so that she can't get out. Should we tie her up on a leash when we are outside or muzzle her? You can muzzle her, you can tie her up on a leash, but you won't address the problem, because if you ever took the lead off and took the muzzle off, she'd do the same thing. So whilst that is good management of the situation, it's not dealing with the issue. And the issue is she thinks that she needs to deal with people encroaching on what she perceives as your space. So how can we show her that she doesn't need to do that? So I would have her on a short lead or long lead. And every time she then tried to get in front of me, let's just say you had her on a short lead and you were just walking out with her, and you stood there for half an hour a day or an hour a day, she tried to get in between, you moved her back. And once she's got that and she stops trying to do it, then have her on a long lead. As soon as she starts chasing, take her back, move her back 15 meters and go stand back and watch the people walk past the boundaries again. So I'll just stand and watch the people go past the boundaries. She gets in front to deal with it. I move her back 10 meters, 15 meters, 20 meters, and then I go stand back and go, I'm dealing with all this. You get in between me and those people, I'm moving you back. You get in between me and that plane going past, you're going back. You get in between me and those joggers, you're going back. So it's the same thing every time. It's just about managing the environment. Nothing wrong with having on a muzzle if you're really scared that she could slip the lead or whatever. But if it were me, I'd just have her on a long lead, and I'd probably be holding that long lead, and I'd be saying, right, I'm doing this. Now it says unable to connect chat. Please, so I can't see any of these questions underneath. This is so frustrating. And I'm gonna try something here, because this is all about questions now. I'm gonna refresh this page, and hopefully it's not a problem. So I'm gonna refresh it now. Change it, yeah, reload. Let's see what happens. Hopefully the questions will pop up again. Can you still hear me? It's reloading the page.